Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're on the audio side, make sure you leave us a rating and review. We're live in Brooklyn. I'm very excited about this episode with Dionté Chantel. We had our first episode in 2020. Can you believe that?
Wow.
Yeah, episode 33. So excited to have you back, and you've been up to so much lately. So appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me back. And I just love what you're doing as well with your brand, with the podcast. So kudos to you.
Definitely. So we got a lot to catch up on. And we caught up a lot before this episode. And you've gone into the real estate development space now. And if I'm not mistaken, you've done about 5 new construction builds in the last year or so, right?
Yes. In the last 12 to 13 months, we built 5 two-family homes in Newark and East Orange, New Jersey. And the last time I was here, I was talking about the projects because we were under contract, or we were in communications with acquiring the land. And it took a while, but we got it done. We were able to close. We were able to get it built in a timely manner. And now we're off to the races with the next couple of projects out of Newark. And we're in other states as well. So I'm excited.
Definitely. So we'll definitely talk about those deals. But a feedback I get from a lot of people is the how. Just like an overview of, how do I get into development? Because a lot of times people see, oh, he built this building or she built this house, but what is the steps in the process? So could you give just like a high level overview of, if I want to develop a house, I found a piece of land, what's the next steps after that?
Yes. So I love to address the house, especially with newbies, right? I didn't come into this new construction or development space with tons of experience. I literally came with rehab experience, intensive rehab experience, but not new construction. It's totally different. And to break into the business, you should have development experience. So what I did was I leveraged other people's experience, other people's money. I leveraged just partnerships and relationships, basically. And I was able to use their experience, piggyback is what I like to say, by using an operating agreement. So what that looks like is when I went to the city of Newark in 2019, that's how long ago it was, I said, hey, I want to be a real estate developer. The first thing they said was, you have no experience. So I was like, okay, well, what are the qualifications? Like, what are you looking for? And I kind of built a team around what they were looking for. Built the best team I could at the time. They said, you know what, let me give you a shot. So whoever is looking to get into real estate development right now, it doesn't matter what you have, technically. It doesn't matter what experience you have. It matters who's in your circle, who's in your network, who's willing to partner with you, right? And you build around that, because you might have a land opportunity or a parcel of land, but you probably don't have the money.
Yeah.
You probably don't have the experience. You can't get it funded because you don't have the experience. And if you collaborate with people that has the experience, you can get the project done. That's just how it goes. Have site control, own or have it under contract, and then you can work around everything else. So that's what I would say for newbies. It's not so much having all this experience. We all have to start somewhere. But some of the first steps for becoming a real estate developer is definitely making sure you're in a market that is viable, where people want to live. So you want to do your studies. We call it feasibility studies. You want to find out what the income is. You want to find out what the comps are, of course, what the rent rolls are. You want to see, is this a progressive city where people are moving to, or are they already there living? Then you want to go into seeing, okay, what is the master plan? What are these politicians in the neighborhood looking to contribute to their community? And because at the end of the day, real estate is all about politics. Real estate development specifically is all about politics. So you want to kind of do their homework for them, but in return, you're investing and allocating your money. So you're the entrepreneur, you're the investor, but you're making the politician look good. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
So with that being said, we want to make sure as a developer, it's a market that people want to live in. It's a market where the numbers make sense, because as I told you before, people are buying land, but 9 out of 10 is not buildable land. It's not land that you could do anything with. So you're just paying taxes and I don't know what else you would be paying for in the rural areas, but you're just having land sit there and you're not doing nothing with it. With me, I only want to buy buildable land. We call the land that I go after is infill lots. These are lots that are typically connected to the city lines for sewage, for electrical. So it's already ready to go for the most part, where you just need to get your plans approved. You need to go ahead and build out the foundation and then go ahead and build the house. You don't have to worry about running a new sewage line. It's already there because,
Yeah.
most likely a pre-existing house was there already. They probably knocked it down. And work from there. So to recap, you want to really, as a newbie developer, because I like to talk to newbies, you just want to make sure your construction team is solid.
Yeah.
I think that's what I pretty much mastered. Whoever that was going to partner with me, they had to be the best of the best and they had to be solid because I wasn't the top.
Yeah.
I was the newbie coming in. So I went after the best builder in the state, in my opinion. And I went after the best lenders, like everybody that's top notch. That's who I added on my team. And this is how I was able to get the 5 houses built in 12 months, to sum that all up.
Definitely. That makes a lot of sense. Other question I have is, so is there anything else that needs to be done before you can break ground, like with the city or different things that you need to do?
Yes. So we have a pre-development part of development or section where you're going to have to get your site plans and architectural plans submitted to the zoning board or the zoning department. And I'm almost certain throughout the country, they're going to reject it at least 2 to 3 times. So just be prepared for that. Make sure, you have a proper architect who does have relationships in those cities that you're going to be building in. I do recommend that. And who already knows the code, who already knows what they're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
So the least likelihood it will be rejected.
Yeah.
But once it goes through zoning, then it goes to the building department. And then in the building department, you submit the construction plans at that point. And then the building department is ultimately where you would get your permits to start building. So at that point, it's now a shovel-ready project, meaning you can stick the shovel in, you can start building the foundation and building the house ultimately. So you do have to get through those 2 parts, the zoning and the building departments. That's typically called the entitlement process. And that's actually the hardest part.
Why is that?
Mainly because if you're in a very conservative political climate or neighborhood and you're looking to build houses or affordable housing solutions, some neighborhoods may not want that. So they might have the politicians reject it. You might have a neighborhood organizations, they'll go ahead and reject it. Especially when you get to the building part. It can go down like that. I've seen it in Kansas City. They've told me, hey, we don't want affordable housing here. This was before affordable housing was a sexy subject for politicians.
Yeah.
So we're talking like 2020, 2019. They didn't want those type of units in their neighborhoods. Now it's mandatory, and that's what's getting the politicians elected.
Yeah.
So with that being said, there's a lot of moving parts that goes into your plans being approved.
Mm-hmm.
And if you happen to want to build the wrong thing, they can reject it.
Yeah.
So it's important. And it could take, I've seen plans take about a year to get approved.
Yeah.
To be honest, mine took a really long time to get approved.
Yeah.
For East Orange.
Yeah.
Newark, we didn't have any issues, but East Orange, they rejected it at least 3 to 4 times.
Yeah.
Over silly stuff. Oh, you have to cut down a tree. Reject. You have an extra closet here. Reject. We didn't have an issue with servicing the community because East Orange is not built with a bunch of community organizations, but Newark is.
Yeah.
So different communities have different processes.
That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned people not wanting affordable housing in their neighborhoods. Why is that in your opinion? You can be honest.
Yeah, with the honesty. I think it was just the climate of the president at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe it was the climate. Our president said it out his own mouth too, right? And he was against affordable housing at the time. And there's some things I do like about Trump, and then there were some things that I didn't like about Trump. And he kind of put that language and climate into our communities. But ultimately, lower income neighborhoods do have more crime.
Hmm.
I grew up in those neighborhoods. I know they do. But this is why I do what I do as a developer. I'm looking to bring affordable luxury
Yeah.
units for people that look like me,
Yeah.
the people that come from where I come from. Because what's happening, whether we like it or not, is our neighborhoods, they're getting gentrified. We talked about this, I'm sure, before.
You're sitting in one right now.
Right. I'm from everybody knows I'm from Brooklyn.
Right.
I had to move out of Brooklyn
Yeah.
and I had to move to Newark as a kid because at some point it just became unaffordable for my mom. And now Brooklyn, if you're living in Brooklyn and you don't have affordable, if you don't have a voucher program, if you don't have HUD housing, which goes by your income, you can't survive here. You can't.
Yeah.
Okay, a 2-bedroom in Brooklyn is probably what, $3,500? Like, I don't even know at this point, but it's not affordable. So people that look like you and I, most of the time, if they're not wealthy or if they're not building wealth, they're just a working class person. They are on some type of government subsidy to help them pay their rent. And a lot of those apartments are really poor and they're really trash.
Yeah.
So it's important, like people like myself, people like you, who want to be landlords, who want to help build our communities. It's important for us to own so we can also distinguish who we want to rent to. And we have that power.
Yeah.
Because a lot of other things that goes into renting in a place like New York is they're going to discriminate for everything. They're looking at your income. If your income is not high enough, you're not qualified. Your credit is not high enough, you're not qualified. And I think most of America is doing that anyway now.
Mhm.
But New York was the blueprint. You had to
Yeah.
make, 4 times the rent to live in an apartment in Brooklyn? Yes, since COVID, I think a lot of landlords are very strict at this point. But New York, it's always been a challenge for, we'll say, minorities to become a renter
Yeah.
in a place like Brooklyn, or they'll ship them all the way to the Bronx. And I mean, I wouldn't want to live in the Bronx. Y'all don't
Still
hate
love
me.
all my Bronx
Listen.
folks.
Y'all don't hate me for saying that. But that's where they're shipping them,
Yeah.
like to the Bronx to live. And some people, that's just not conducive for where they work. But with that being said, it's our responsibility
Yeah.
as investors and developers to make sure we're providing options for people that look like us. Just to recap what I
Yeah.
probably said already.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, affordable housing doesn't necessarily mean low income housing.
Right.
Right?
Right. It doesn't necessarily mean low income. So you have workforce housing. You have, of course, the very, what is it called? Very low.
Mm-hmm.
You have low, then you have moderate.
Mm-hmm.
Believe it or not, and there's another level too. But believe it or not, the workforce housing, those people are actually your teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Those are your municipality workers. Those are your police officers. They don't make a lot of money. Some of your firefighters. So some of the projects that I'm looking to build, or I am going to be building, we're actually going to be servicing that demographic of
Yeah.
people, the middle class.
Yep.
The service workers.
Yep.
Not necessarily the people that make $17,000 a year. No, it's the people that's making $40,000 to about $65,000, $70,000
Yeah.
a year who still can't afford to rent a nice house or buy a house or rent a nice apartment in these major cities.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it's interesting. We've had a couple of developers come on the show talking about something similar. So I had Devin George, who used to play for the Lakers during some time ago, and he was mentioning if you are low income, like there's plenty of programs for you. You'll be able to find somewhere to live. You'll get a subsidy, whatever the case is. But it's that middle class that there's usually no help for.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, in places like New York City, it's so expensive to live. In New Jersey, you need that support for the middle, right?
Yeah.
Like they need housing that they can afford as well.
Exactly.
And I think it's kind of misguided by those folks who don't want it in their community because it's not what you think it is. I mean, it's easy to create a narrative that is just like a certain type of individuals who are going to be in those homes, like that are like workforce. Those would be workforce housing, right?
Right.
Yeah. So like it's easy to assume, but that's not really what it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that's why we have to be very specific. Like as a developer, when I'm writing proposals, when I'm talking, I can't even just say affordable housing. You have to be very specific. Workforce. And they're like, oh, okay.
Does that
It
sound
sounds
better?
better to them. So yeah, you have to choose your words carefully. But it does all fall under affordable housing.
Yeah.
But you definitely want to pinpoint. No, I'm talking about workforce housing, and then you'll see the relief. Like, okay,
Yeah.
why? I don't know. I mean, I know what it is, but
Yeah, we know what it is.
we know what it is. We're not going to just expose it. But at the end of the day, yes, the middle class, excuse me, they're suffering greatly.
Yeah.
Across the board, we're getting taxed the most, right? They're getting no subsidies for childcare. Like, they're not getting anything. And the price is still the price.
Yeah.
So it's going to take people like you and I and other developers out there to understand what the loophole is and buy into that so we can provide more. Of course, there's grants out there throughout the country. Yes, some of the grants do favor and cater to the very low demographic of affordable housing, but then you do have some that are willing to give funds and free money for the middle class or the workforce demographic. So you just have to do your research, and there are funds out there.
Got it. Cool. So before we get into some of the deals that you've done, one thing you talked about earlier is buying land. So people just buying land for the sake of it. So I'm not going to, everybody has a different strategies and different things they want to do. However, I think it's very important to have a strategy and a plan if you're acquiring something that's supposed to be an asset.
Yeah.
So what's your take on that? How should people approach buying land? And what have you seen that you think is not necessarily beneficial to people?
Yeah. So if it's not generating, if anything you buy, if it's not generating any type of income or cash flow, it's a liability. I think we all know that at this point. So if you're only paying out and not receiving anything in, or you don't know what to do with it, it's just a liability. So I've seen, people, they're buying land in rural areas. Now, what I will say is, we as Black people should be buying farmland. I am going to say that. So I'm kind of going to contradict myself here.
Yeah.
Everybody should be buying farmland if you can. Because the future, we're going to need to farm and grow our own food, the way America's looking. And we do know about 70 to 80% of America's farmland is owned by China, which is scary.
You said 70 what?
Yeah, China. That's scary to me.
That's scary to me too.
Yeah. China should not be owning our farmland. Okay? Not China. So with that being said, we need to go back to the basics. The basics is, as Black people, the people that helped build this country, we need to learn how to farm. We need to own some farmland, and we need to start farming.
Yeah.
Start changing up our food palette too. Get accustomed to eating raw vegetables, raw fruit. Just so 7 years from now, if we even have that long, that we're prepared. Okay? Because America's not going to look the same. It's looking third world country-ish in the future. Not to get spiritual, but that's what it's looking like. But just me knowing that China owns most of our farmland and Bill Gates own another greater portion, that creeps me out. So that's all I'm going to say there before I have, the government looking for me.
Don't strike this video, please.
But with that being said, so if you're going to use the farmland to be productive, you're going to start a farm, go for it. If you're going to, start selling the farm goods or produce to like Walmart, if you're going to make money with the land, go for it. But if you're just following a guru on social media telling you to buy something to try to potentially maybe flip it in the future, or I don't know, just have it, I think that's a waste. I would prefer to buy stuff that I can make money on now. Okay? Yes, you could rent out the land for, I don't know, a theme park to or what do you use it for? You could have like drive-in movie theaters. Like, it's different things. There's like 20 ways you can actually make money with land. But with that being said, if you're going to go invest the $5,000, make sure you have a strategy in place. And make sure it's something that you can make your money back right away. That's what I will say. Otherwise, if you take your last dollars and you go and buy this land and you don't realize, all right, every quarter I have to pay $500 in taxes. Guess what? You might get that land repossessed or foreclosed on if you cannot afford the upkeep. Sometimes you also have to make sure the grass is cut. You have to make sure certain types of land, you have to make sure you're not going to have any type of violations or ordinances from the city against you if you're not keeping up the upkeep or going along with the upkeep. So just be mindful that it's a liability if it's not making you money, and if it's not generating you any cash flow. And that's pretty much it when it comes to land in that topic. So what I will say is, and I know some people are going to say, well, that's the cheapest land. It is. I buy cheap land also. Start working and collaborating with cities. I told you in the past, my land for East Orange, I paid about $1 per square foot. So that was about $4,500 for a lot that was worth about $90,000.
How'd you know how much it was worth at the time?
Well, I knew that the lot was worth $90 because I just looked at the comps.
Got you.
But I also knew that the city desperately wanted developers to come and build. And I knew they were willing to give it away for really cheap. And that's what I targeted. So you can go after cheap lots, cheap parcels of land. In this case, we turned $4,500 into $700,000, right?
Yeah.
So that's a deal to me. That's a win.
Yeah. But we're going to break that down.
Right. So that was East Orange. Newark, same thing. It wasn't $4,500, but it was $10,000 for one of the lots. $10,000. I think we sold that for like $750.
Yeah.
Right. Now, of course, we didn't make the whole $750. No, we made about $250K.
Yeah.
Per house. That's a win.
Yeah.
That makes sense to me. And even if we wanted to refinance it and keep it, we could have still cash flowed.
Yeah.
At least $2,000 a month minimum. And we still could have had a 6-figure refi cash out.
Yeah. And then just start the process over again.
Take that money, go buy more land, go have our pre-development costs ready to go, and do it all over again. So that process is technically called build to rent. You're just not developing the properties to flip it or sell it to an end buyer or a mortgage buyer. You're actually building it, renting it, refiing it, cash out, refi, keeping it, going on to buy the next set of land. And you could just do this over and over and over.
Yeah.
But in return, at some point, you could stop if you want to because now you have cash flow.
Yeah.
It's a cash flowing business. And what I will say about real estate development and anything in real estate or anything, if it's not cash flowing, you're not really in business. You're in a rat race.
Yeah.
And it's stressful. So you want to definitely go after those really great, sweet deals with equity built in so you can run this play. Because it's really a play of cash flowing, pulling $100K out or more, going on to the next project. And 9 out of 10, you don't even have to, depending on how you structure it or where you buy the land from, you won't even need that much startup costs for your next project.
Yeah.
A lot of the lending programs that we have and we offer through Journey to Developer, if it's built-in equity, they'll let you pull that equity out at the closing. So then you don't really need all that money for startup costs.
Yeah.
So in this case, if I bought land for $10,000 in Newark, it was worth $100K, they're going to give me 50% of the $100K. So that's $40,000 I could play with to properly structure my deals.
Yeah.
So those are the little loopholes in the background.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. So just to recap, so on the land, from the land perspective, it sounds like for the average person, you don't recommend buying land and sitting on it. You recommend having some sort of exit strategy. So whether it's going to be using it for like to start some sort of farm or, you know, like you did, just having a strategic plan where you're going to develop on it.
Right.
But you don't recommend people just like, no matter how cheap it is, just like buying land because you got taxes, you may have to like maintain the place and you just, in your opinion, it's just not the wisest thing to do, right?
It depends on the buyer.
Yeah.
I have seen people just sit on land, but they have money.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we don't really have that fortitude all the time.
Most people
right?
don't.
Yeah. They just don't have money. I could just park $10,000 for 10 years.
Right.
But, you know, our other counterparts, they have that. They like, I used to be in the trust and estate and real estate paralegal sector. So when people died, I used to see they would have acres of land just sitting there. They didn't care. And over the years, it Of course, the equity was built. But unfortunately, we don't really have that fortitude. So I
Yeah.
say if you're going to buy land, you can hold it for X amount of years. So just make sure you have a plan in place to make
Yeah.
money off of it.
That makes a lot of sense. So let's start breaking down some of these deals.
Mhm.
Was Newark the first or East Orange?
So initially, I did get started in Newark,
Okay.
but Newark took a little longer for me to close.
Mhm.
So we pretty much, what we did, let's recap this.
Yeah, of course.
So, and I started saying this earlier, I went to Newark, well, back in 2013, 10 years ago. I don't know when this is going to be aired, but 10 years ago in 2013, Newark was selling lots for $1,000. And that was the first time I ever said I wanted to be a real estate developer. Literally was sleeping on an airbed, didn't have $1,000. But I was like, I want to build container homes in Newark. I'm going to be a real estate developer. Fast forward maybe 6 years. I'm heavy in real estate. I'm wholesaling. I'm buying houses. I'm rehabbing them. I'm meeting the right people. My very first cash buyer came to me and said, hey, you should go to NYU for real estate development. I was like, how did you know I wanted to be a real estate developer? So I took it as advice. I said, okay, I'm going to do it. He said, I said, oh, I actually met somebody that have connections in the city. So my connections had two different people that was well connected, a white person and a black person. Got to put that out there for a reason. And the white guy who I love dearly, he actually showed me how to be a real estate developer on paper.
Wow.
So he showed me what it took to be a real estate developer and a proposal, who needed to be on my team, everything. He and his partner were attorneys who actually started the first land banks in this country. So when they came to Newark with me, like, hey, Newark, you have 4,000 parcels of land and houses. Y'all should start a land bank. Newark didn't know what a land bank was.
What is that for those who
So
don't
land
know?
bank is like a nonprofit organization that pretty much controls distressed properties, right? They're managing them. They're preserving them. They're, of course, looking to put them back into the community, but it's just like a bank holding assets. And Newark didn't know what that was. So Newark now has a land bank because of the people that I was doing business with, my business advisors. These advisors also helped start the Kansas City Land Bank, helped start the Detroit Land Bank. They've been around the country doing this for many years. So they knew the formula. They had great connections. And but Newark was like, no, we don't trust it. So I had to get the, people that look like us, our skin folk, to go into Newark and say, hey, no, I got to take Dionté serious as a developer. She's actually from Newark, or she grew up here, so you have to take her serious. And somebody was a frat brother somewhere. And they got me in, okay? But they still was like, we don't think you could get it done because you don't have no experience. By the grace of God, some politician knew my pastor from back in the days. He was like, whatever you want, I'm going to make sure I vote yes for you. And at the end of the day, it did come back to the proposal. Again, you have to build a great team around you. At the time, my team wasn't that great.
Yeah.
But one thing I did know to do was to not depend on, at that time, in 2019, I said, you know what? I don't want to have to, as a female, I don't want to have to depend on no builder to get this project done. So the last time I was here, I told you guys that I was going to build modular homes. So modular homes is everything is built in a factory. They're literally putting boxes, pods, modulars together, and that's how they built the house. And they literally built it on site. And I just knew that was the easy way out, and that's what I was going to do. It didn't work out like that, but that was the plan. So when I put that on the proposal, the city like, all right, cool. We know by any means necessary, you're going to get this built because you have a modular company that's going to do it. And again, the process took 3 years in Newark, but the proposal was so strong. I was talking about affordable housing back in 2019 when it wasn't sexy.
Yeah.
So what I did was I just copied and pasted for East Orange. I copied and pasted for Kansas City. Like throughout the country, I was just like, we're going to just replicate this proposal.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to want to work with me. And that's what kind of happened. So East Orange, we closed really quick, like within a year. So we closed 2 years before Newark. It took 3 years in Newark. And we closed 2 years before Newark. And Newark, I actually had to be on their neck. Shout out to Newark. I love y'all. Because, my partner that I started with, she still didn't close.
Yeah, you told me that. Yeah.
On her land. So we just
why does it take so long with Newark to like close on the land? Because you're buying the land from Newark, from the city, right?
Yeah.
So what
I couldn't
makes it
tell
take so long? Or is it just like a government type thing? Like
I will
government
say they
slow or
do.
something?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I do feel like it's a lot of. It is a legislation thing too.
Uh-huh.
It's not just like a regular real estate sale. It does
Yeah.
have to go before their city council. So there is a process.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna blame it on that.
Okay.
That's my political answer. But now Newark has set forth new programs where they encourage newer developers to come in and partner with people like myself, people like bigger developers,
Yeah.
so they can get their shot. And literally, I want to say I inspired them to do this because they saw what I did. And I did do a lot of events where I'm encouraging newbies to partner with people.
Yeah.
And they kind of made it a whole program where now you can come into Newark whenever they have these lots for sale, and you'll be able to buy them anywhere from $2 to $12 per square foot.
Yeah.
So on the high end, you might pay $36,000 for a lot. That's still not bad.
Yeah.
Because it's worth $100K plus,
Yeah.
right? But they are saying you must sell these. You must build units for affordable housing.
Right.
So what they're saying is, hey, you could build a 2 to 3 family house. You just have to make sure all of the units are being sold for affordable housing. And in their eyes, Section 8 housing is affordable.
Yeah.
Section 8 rents and vouchers in New Jersey is pretty much market rent.
Yeah.
Well, not the high end, but it's market rent for the most
Yeah.
part. So it's not like you're losing any money there.
Yeah.
So that's what they're looking for. As long as you're catering to Section 8 in their eyes or affordable housing,
Yeah.
they're willing to most likely approve your proposal.
Yeah.
And then you would still qualify for the grants.
Yeah.
So some of the projects we have coming up, we're getting grants, free money, up to $300K per house.
Yeah.
Literally.
You said how much?
$300,000.
How much of your cost is that?
So the cost to build
Roughly.
is $450,000.
So you only have to come up with 150 and like
150.
whatever else.
Mm-hmm.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So what I plan to do is I'm still going to take out a regular loan,
Yeah.
whether it's going to be from a bank or a private lender for the $450. And it might be $450 plus the cost of the land. I'm not sure if I'm going to need my own money or their money. But I'm going to take out, we'll say $450 to $500K for the land and for their build. The government is going to give me $300K.
Mm-hmm.
And then all I have to worry about is refinancing pretty much at $200K. Because the next projects, I will be keeping those.
Yeah.
But if I wanted to sell it, you do have to sell it affordably. So that's a whole nother lesson we can get into today. But you do have to look at the demographic, what the income is, what the people qualify for. And that's where they call it an AMI. And that's where you would have to say, all right, this house cannot be sold for more than $500K.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think $500K would be too much depending on the neighborhood.
Yeah.
So the program we'll be doing with Newark, it would be wise to just build to rent it.
Yeah.
And just make sure you're going to be renting it out to affordable housing recipients.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. The first deal, the first build, and how that went. How did you find the builder? What was that process like? Some of the challenges. We'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, the builder. So I told you behind the scenes that in 2021, 2022, I had to disconnect from everybody that I initially started my development journey with. So all my partners, except from the guy that helped me get into real estate, I disconnected from. So my builder, who at the time was like my partner, my life partner.
Yeah.
We separated. We didn't get married. He wasn't my builder anymore. And then everybody connected to him, I just cut off. So I literally didn't have anybody.
Yeah.
I was a lone wolf out here. And my architect, who was a Destiny helper, he was like, Dionté, I have to see you get this project done. Like, he just was like, you have to get it done. So however I need to help you, I am. So he would literally call all of his builder buddies, right? He knew a bunch of developers. He's like, I have this young lady. She needs a builder. And he probably recommended me to about 2 of them. And one day, I'll never forget, Queen Latifah was doing her groundbreaking for her affordable housing project in Newark. And we shared the same architect.
Wow.
So he's like, he thought I was coming, which I was. I had every intention to be there, but I was just going through my own thing in life. And I was like, I don't even feel worthy to be there. So I didn't show up.
Wow.
So he calls me like, hey, I thought you was going to come. Da, 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 da. And I'm like, yeah, nope, I didn't come. So in that moment, it was a God moment, y'all. So be ready. God told me as I'm looking on social media, because I started seeing all the pictures from the groundbreaking. So I see Queen Latifah, I see the builders, and it was like God told me literally, contact the builder. And I contacted him on Instagram, like, hey, I got this deal I need a partner on, da da da. Making a long story short, he wound up partnering with me as a builder, and he also wound up helping me fund the project. So the construction cost was about $2.5 to $2.6 million. He actually funded the whole project for me.
For
all 5 projects.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a blessing.
I'm speechless.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
because I was starting from square one.
Yeah.
Not to put my business out there, like I was starting from zero, even with the finances. The only thing I had was my assets, was the land. And at the time, when I got in contact with him, I didn't even close on a Newark deal yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like rushing Newark, like, let's hurry up so I can get this done. Because East Orange I had to execute on, and I wanted to do them all together. And all the assets that I had with my life partner, they were sold or we got rid of them or whatever the case may be. So it was like I was really starting at square one on this journey to getting these projects done. So
wow,
it was a God moment. It was me hearing God in the moment, and God took care of the rest. So during the project, I didn't really do a lot of heavy lifting once he stepped in.
Yeah.
One, because he's the best. Like, he's literally one of the best builders in the country or in New Jersey. And then he took care of the construction and the money. So it was like,
yeah, I'll just split it when it's time to sell.
Right. So I did do a little bit of stuff. So I did the zoning or the entitlement process for East Orange.
Okay.
But the Newark process he took care of.
Yeah.
Because he has expediters. So I didn't have to go run back and
What
forth
does
to
that
the
mean,
city.
expediter?
So typically it's a group of people that you can hire to go submit your permits for you at City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in this discussion, I said that sometimes they reject it for the littlest thing, and then you have to keep on going back and filing it all over. Well, guess what? People that are really in this business, builders, developers, we don't have time to be running back and forth for paperwork and plans. So your expediters work with the city, they work with your architects, they work with your team to do all the paperwork for you when it comes to the zoning and the building departments, typically in a municipality. Yep. So he already had everything in place. So all I had to do was just really be cute and take pictures.
Yeah.
He had a project manager.
Yeah.
He never waited on me to show up to get something done. He was really executing. So I hate to tell y'all this, but I did have a soft life development journey for these first projects. But I did all the heavy lifting at the end of the day. Like the proposal process, I did that all on my own.
Right.
I did all of the politicking.
Yeah.
So when it was time for him to step in, he took over. And to be honest, I was coming to the job sites. He was never
I saw
there.
you on the job sites.
Yeah, he was never there. Like, I think I bumped into him twice. Like, where are you? He's always working on other projects. So you can really do development as long as you have a tight ship being ran, like a seamless team. You don't have to be there.
Yeah.
Now, if they know you're a newbie, they could take advantage of you. Let's just put that out there. So you do want to be there, but do you have to be there? If I'm partnered with a top builder who has everything to lose, just like I have everything to lose, he's going to make sure it's going to get done.
Yeah.
So that's what it was. Like, we both had something to lose. We both went into a marriage, we'll say, for this time period. And it's a win. We sold 4 of the 5 properties.
Wow.
As this recording is happening. We have 4 sold. We have 1 left that needs to be sold. And I'm sure that closing is going to happen any day. And that's it. We're on to the next.
Wow. Lots to unpack there. So what would you say is the average cost to build and what they're selling for on average?
Yeah. So right now, depending on where you are in the country, it's about $125 to $150. Well, I don't pay over $150. Let's put that out there. Now, some people might charge you $165
to build?
To build per square foot.
Oh, $150 per square foot.
Yes, per square foot. So that can range you about $450 to $500K.
Okay.
Just to build it. The resale values right now, Newark is hot. For a 2-family,
Mm-hmm.
800 to 850.
It's a nice spread.
Yeah. Yeah. For East Orange, like the 7 to 750, 775. So the
Mhm.
numbers are up there. It's high.
Yeah, yeah.
3 families, they hitting $1 million in Newark right now.
In New-
I know.
oh wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's up.
So yeah, it's up for
Wow.
now anyway, right? So the numbers make sense.
Yeah.
The math is
They make a lot
mathing.
of sense to me.
Yeah. So even if you're paying $100K to $150K for a lot,
Yeah.
it's still, the numbers still make sense.
Yeah.
You should be able to make $200K
Yeah.
per development project without questions asked. So let's break down the numbers. If you did pay $100,000 for a lot in Newark, which really the number is $150. So we'll take the $150 number. So $150, and let's say we're going to build a 2-family. 2-family is going to cost $450. That's $600K. The resale value is $850.
Yeah.
You do probably want to take cost out, holding costs, interest costs, realtor costs, whatever the case may be. Yes, but you still are in the high 170 to
Yeah.
200, depending on what your cost is, right?
Yeah.
On your net. I think that's still great.
I mean, even after taxes, like that's like it's a couple people's salaries right there for one house.
Yeah. And then if you do it right, if you have the best people on your team, if you're
Mhm.
doing 1031 exchanges, that money could be rolled into another project. So
Yeah.
just make sure you're getting the best people on your team, the best attorneys,
Yeah.
the best wealth strategy. So I just mentioned a 1031 exchange strategist. You want to hire them to help you allocate your tax capabilities or liabilities, right? Because on a project of 200K net grossing, you got to pay Uncle Sam about 40 to 50%.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to do that, you need to make sure you have the people in place to help you save you some money. You definitely want a land use attorney in the event that you have to do a variance.
What does that mean?
So variance is where you're taking land, for instance, most of the lots in New Jersey that are 2,500 square feet, you could build a 2-family on.
Gotcha.
Right? A 1 to 2 family. Let's say you want to now build a 3-family. You have to get permission from the city to do that. You have to prove to them, hey, this lot will support the density or the weight of what we're trying to build here. And that's a process. You need an attorney. That's going to cost you a couple $1,000. That might take you a couple of, probably about 8 months to a year to get that approved. So your land use attorney is skilled in that area to make sure that's done. And that's different from a regular real estate residential attorney. You might need them for the closing of the purchase of the land and or the selling of the home once it's built. A title company you definitely need. You definitely need a great surveyor. You definitely need a great architect. You definitely, of course, need a great builder. Not a general contractor, but an actual home builder.
What's the difference?
So to me, a general contractor, they're general. That means, I could do everything. No, you cannot. I need somebody. I need somebody that builds homes with their eyes closed. Point taking. My builder, with his eyes closed, he built me 5 houses. I was on like 6 vacations this year where he was building 5 houses for me. Minding my business. I literally went to Israel, mind my business, and my houses were still built.
Yeah.
That's because he's a home builder.
Yeah.
He has a system in place. He has the tools. He has a team ready to go. A general contractor, they're more general. Everybody's gonna outsource everything, but they don't have a specific niche. So that means if you call them for a bathroom remodel, they're gonna be able to do it. If they'll say, hey, I have somebody for that, they'll outsource it to somebody they find at Home Depot. If you need a roofing job, they're gonna outsource. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're gonna always tell you, I could do it. But that does not mean they know how to build a house from the ground up. They might not know anything about framing. So if they go to Home Depot and find some people and put them on the back of their truck and they like, I could do, and they might not know how to do it, your house might fall apart.
Yeah.
Or you might fail inspections when you go to get it inspected, right? And that's now wasting you more money and more time. So I recommend everybody look for home builders and or other developers. No, not developers, home builders that you can partner with, because every developer is not a home builder.
Yeah.
See, I'm not really a home builder. in this phase of my life. When I was with my ex-partner, yes, he was the builder. So in fact, I can say I'm a developer builder.
Yeah.
But now I'm just developer investor.
Yeah.
I'm just allocating my money into projects. I'm the visionary.
Yep.
I'm, organizing the project. I'm getting us to the finish line. I'm the quarterback.
Yeah.
But I'm not really building it. I'm outsourcing that.
Right.
So these are, again, the key people that you're going to need to really execute and get it done. And yeah, I don't know if I answered that.
No, you did. You actually
Right.
answered another question I was going to ask. So it's
I
perfect.
answered that question.
So your partner, how did he fund the project? Was it from like a loan or a line of credit or something? How do you fund the
So
builds?
some of it, most of it, at least 80% of it was from a line of credit.
Gotcha. Okay.
With a private money lender.
Gotcha.
So these are, again, programs that are out there. I'm not going to name drop banks on here, but y'all can contact me. I'll tell y'all, and I can help you get it funded. But yeah, so there are line of credit loans for rehabs, for development, for apartment buildings. If you have experience, you can go after them. I will say for newbies, they might not give it to you.
Yeah.
So you will have to partner with a person that has some type of experience on the new construction side of things.
Yeah.
But we do have other programs where you can do one house at a time for newbies that we just launched like in the last week or so. Because as COVID came and went and people started getting foreclosed and material costs went sky high, all the crazy things happened. Lenders said, you know what, we're not funding any new construction for new developers.
Yeah.
You have to have at least 2 to 3 ground up experience projects.
Yeah.
We're not funding it. Before they would have said, hey, if you have some rehab experience, we'll let you do it. But recently, or in the last year or so, they said no. So now they're starting to loosen up a little and they're considering, depending on what you did in your past, also considering if you have a 9-to-5 job, they will give you those type of loans.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. So how does it feel to you to be able to do what you've been able to do in the last year or so? Obviously, there was years of work and patience, and you were at a point where you pretty much lost everything, and you turn around a year or so later, 5 houses built, almost everything sold, and things are going well, and you're able to find a great business partner. How does that feel to you, just to be able to, did you see this ending when you started? Because I'm sure you had some low times back then.
Yeah. I mean, I just feel blessed. I mean, not to sound super spiritual, but God did show it to me. He did say, you know what? You are going to come up out of this. And that's why he didn't let me quit, because I could have just quit. So I did know, because of my faith, that God was going to make a way.
Yeah.
I had to just zone in. I had to give him everything. I literally had to yield everything to God and seek him so I can hear him in the process. And that's just how we have to, because you're a person of faith too. That's how we should be living with everything.
Yeah.
In a sense, I made my life all about real estate. And God was like, no, that's not what I told you to do. Your life is all about me, and I will add to you.
Yeah.
Matthew 6:33, seek the kingdom of God first and everything will be added to you, right? To summarize it. And that's what I had to literally do. And even as I'm going into these bigger projects, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to God first. How are we funding this project, God? How are we going to do this, right? Who are you going to send? It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Across the board.
Love that. So talk about some of your future plans. What are some things you're looking to do in the future regarding development?
Yes. So right now, excuse me, y'all. But right now, we built a lot of great relationships in Kansas City, Missouri. I know before you heard me say I was investing there, and I did. I invested. We sold those projects once, me and the ex broke up. But I met great people there that literally every time they get a big deal on their desk, they're calling me. So we have 2 projects. One, I'm definitely a co-developer on right now. That's to build 180 townhouses. The other one, we're in talks. We're trying to see if it's actually going to make sense. But that's for another 200 houses.
Wow.
And also a hotel. So they want to see another person of color build it. And they want to see a woman build it.
Yeah.
So we're working on that. We're lining up the funds. I'm actually in talks with their realtors to see if this is really going to work or not.
Mm-hmm.
So the goal is to just, build workforce housing in Kansas City, Missouri. We're also working with the city of Philadelphia. We also have about 10 projects that we are going to get done in Newark that are privately owned. So we already own the land. And that's where we're doing our affordable housing project, which should work because we own it privately. And then we're also submitting proposals to Newark right now for their new program that I talked to y'all about.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the Equitable Initiative for Newark Communities. And that's for the opportunity of newbie developers and experienced developers and nonprofits to come together to do a project together. So we're submitting those. I have a mentee I'm doing a project with, or we're submitting proposals for with. And then I have another organization that actually came to me that said, hey, we want you on our proposal as a partner. So those are all the things I'm working on right now. And I do believe I could do it all.
Yeah.
Strategically, I could do it all. and it can happen and it will happen. And I'm also going into focusing on putting more content out around real estate development and investing. Thanks to Sam, I actually started a podcast. Yeah, I don't know this, but
talk about it.
Yeah, so what was this? 2020? I think you came out with How to Start a Podcast.
Yeah,
course or book.
Man, it feels like so long ago.
I know. And I started a podcast too. It's called Journey to Develop Her, and it's about my real estate development journey, and also the likes of others, right, throughout the country and throughout the world, because we're about to talk about Ghana soon. And it's also about my spiritual development journey as well. So all things development, self, life, and real estate and business. And thanks to Sam, I got started. So now we're still like perfecting it, and we're just looking to put out more content around everything that I do and everything that God is doing in my life. And we do events as well.
Yeah.
And now it's a nonprofit. So we offer like funding, we offer we give back to initiatives around human sex trafficking and also domestic violence. Like it's a movement.
Yeah.
So I'm excited.
Definitely. I love it. What do you have coming up as far as events? Do you have any events coming up in the new year?
God willing.
Are you hoping to do any events in the new year?
God willing. We'll do, for this year, I need to have at least 3 in-person events. Mm-hmm. And we might do another virtual event. Okay. So last February, February 2023, we did a virtual event. We're looking to bring that back. It was called Properties and Profits, or Profits and Profits. I can't remember. Mastermind. It was epic. We had a lot of your favorite social media people from all over the country, but investors that are really making money in this business. I don't want to say social media people. People that I know are making money, people that I break bread with. Yeah. They came to pour into everyone. It was great. And most likely we're going to bring that back. I feel like we have to have one virtual event so people throughout the country can come. But as far as in person, yes, I do plan to do more events based around the community of Newark and New Jersey. And then I do want to do one in Atlanta. Yeah. Because we have some relationships out there. You might see a Philly one, and definitely Kansas City. Like wherever I'm going to be developing, I think we should be pouring into the community. Yeah. In Houston, Texas too. I think we're going to do one there as well.
Definitely. I love it. So last question before we wrap. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's not a lot of Black developers, but there's even fewer Black women developers. Yeah. So what does it mean to you to be able to be one of them?
Yes. I mean, it's an honor, it's a blessing. I know it's very important for women, especially Black women, to become real estate developers because, one, we're the pillars of our communities. We're the ones holding it together. We're the glue, okay? So you need to be a part of the narrative, the conversation of what's coming in your community, who's living in your community, who's renting in your community. And if you can make it a staple where your grandchild can walk past the house and say, my mother built that. Like that's a blessing. That's remarkable to be able to say. My daughter, who's here right now, she could say, oh, my mother built that house. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Or my mother made sure that house was built, or even though I didn't build it with my own hands, but my mother was a developer for that project. That's not to be prideful, but that's an incredible thing that our children can see and be like, you know what, I could do that too. Not only that, it's about building income, keeping the Black dollar in our communities. And again, the Black women, hate to say it, and I'm going to end it with this. We do need our Black men doing it too. But because most of the time the Black women are the ones left in the community to uphold it by a thread, it's important for us to rebuild it. And it's also important for us to keep our dollars circulated in our community. So, Black women, let's get on board. It's not as hard as it seems. It does take proper planning and it takes strategy. And if I could do it, by the grace of God, y'all could do it too. Of course, you're going to need my help, or you're going to need someone that has the experience to help you. So just get started. And a lot of you know I started with no money. Even before I lost it all and got it back, I started in this business, we talked about this last time, with $0. With a 2-year-old, lost my job, right? I think I told y'all that.
I think so, yeah.
And I'm here now, okay? By the grace of God. And then God made sure I lost it all again. And I think he made sure that happened just so I could say, you guys could do it too. So we do have a mentorship program, not to throw it out there. And it came into fruition because I had to start at zero again. So it's actually called Zero to Developer. So I'm showing you how I did it at zero and how you can also do it at zero. And again, it's for men and women. So it's not just for women. It's mostly women, but we do have men in there as well. And if I could do it, you all could do it. And let's get to it.
Love it. So where can people find you? Your social media, website, contact, and all that?
Yes. So on social media, all things Dionté Chantel, and that's DionteChantel, and also Journey to Develop Her is where you can also find me. We have a podcast. If you put in Journey to Develop Her or Dionté Chantel on YouTube, I will pop up. We're on all of the podcast platforms and all over social media.
Awesome. I really appreciate you coming down and doing another interview. It's great. It's always cool to see like the progress people make and, you know, the things that you wanted to do, you've done them. So it's very encouraging. Thank
you for having me. And I love what you're doing. I love that you're creating a dialogue and to show our people that we can actually do it. And even when you don't have it all figured out, even when you just have A figured out, that's what you start with, A. Step A. And then ultimately you can get to step Z. So just believe in yourself. And again, we need people like you to continue to have these conversations with the world. So thank you.
Definitely. No problem. I appreciate it. Thank you everyone for listening to another episode of the Black Real Estate Dialogue. If you're on YouTube, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel. If you're on the audio side, make sure to leave us a rating and review. Thank you all so much, and I'll talk to you soon. What's up, y'all? Sam here from the Black Real Estate Dialogue podcast. Thank you so much for watching another episode. Definitely take a moment to subscribe. Make sure you like this video. Also, visit our website, blackrealestatedialogue.com, and follow on Instagram at Black Real Estate Dialogue. Talk to you soon.